Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. M&amp A pop loses its fizz in Europe, even as Samp P retests 3400 analysis. http ntvforex.com news ID 77D28A914 2022 p.m. Europe. After an initially positive start to the day, European markets have struggled to make much in the way of progress, despite a huge amount of M&amp A news hitting the tape. It appears to be becoming much more difficult to separate the optimism around the chatter about progress on a vaccine, with the economic reality that tighter restrictions are likely to curtail the current rebound in economic activity across the bloc. The rising tide of coronavirus cases across the UK and Europe and the resultant tightening of restrictions, along with the announcement by the CEO of the world's largest vaccine maker, the Serum Institute of India, that it could take until 2024 before everyone is inoculated, has helped to temper some of this morning's early enthusiasm. NBSP G4S shares have surged on reports NBSP that privately owned Canadian private security firm GardaWorld has made an all-cash offer of 190p per share, or A3BN, for the business. The Canadian company said that it had approached the G4S board on 3 occasions to discuss a deal but had been rebuffed at every turn. G4S has been a business that has seen its fair share of problems over the past 3 years, its share price down sharply from the record highs seen back in July 2017. Earlier this year, the company reported a 91M loss after writing down the value of its cash handling business, and has also been involved in a number of incidents that have damaged its credibility. Last year, the company was stripped of its contract to run Birmingham Prison, while earlier this month the Serious Fraud Office charged 3 former executives of the company with defrauding taxpayers, after it was found the company overcharged the government in respect to the number of tags it used on offenders. In 2017, the company was criticized over claims of excessive behavior on the part of some of its staff at its children care homes business, which it has since sold, as well as some of the immigration centers it used to run. There has also been some NBSP chatter in the Swiss media that the country's 2 biggest banks, UBS and Credit Suisse, might be looking at a possible merger deal, after reports that Axel Weber, chairman of UBS, had discussed the possibility with his Credit Suisse counterpart Urs Rohner. There has been a great deal of speculation about the prospect that we could well see some consolidation within the European banking sector. However, most of the focus has been on the EU banking sector, which has problems aplenty all by itself. There are far too many banks in countries like Spain and Italy with fragile balance sheets, hence the recent speculation over CaixaBank and Bankia, not to mention concerns about Germania's Deutsche and Commerzbank, where some consolidation is long overdue. A merger of Switzerland's 2 biggest banks appears to be trying to address a problem that doesn't exist, and merely gives the Swiss government an even bigger too-big-to-fail institution. This in itself is likely to provide a huge barrier to any tie-up. The weakness in the oil price after OPEC downgraded their estimates for 2020 global demand has seen the oil and gas sector weigh on the FTSE 100, with BP and Royal Dutch Shell dragging on the index, along with a firmer pound. US markets have opened broadly higher, boosted by various M&amp A announcements that have come out over the weekend, and the old well-used chestnut of optimism over the delivery of a vaccine by year-end. U.S. pharma company Gilead Sciences, who have agreed to buy cancer drug maker Immunomedics for the sum of $21 billion, funded by $15 billion in cash, and $6 billion in newly issued debt, while SoftBank appears to have finally NBSP agreed a price with U.S. graphics chip maker Nvidia, for UK chip company ARM holdings of $40 billion, as it seeks to bolster its balance sheet after a rather troubled 2019, as well as the recent scrutiny of its big derivative bets on some big US tech shares. Nvidia shares have moved higher on the back of this morning's news. However, given the sway over the global chip market, such a deal would give them. Global regulators may well have something to say about whether this deal goes through in its current form. We could also see some pushback on the part of the likes of Apple, which licenses technology from ARM Holdings for its iPhone and iPad products. While Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang has assured the company has no intention of abusing its position when it comes to ARM Holdings and its clients, previous experience of broken promises from U.S. company CEOs, namely the hollow assurances Kraft gave about Cadbury, regulators could well set a very high bar to allow any deal through. Confirmation from Oracle that they are leading the race to buy TikTok's US operations NBSP is also helping on the margins, with the shares higher on the day, though there are some reports out of China that suggests neither Microsoft or Oracle will be allowed to purchase the business, with reports that ByteDance want to sell or transfer the TikTok algo in the event any sale does take place. Delta Airlines is also in the news NBSP after the airline announced it was looking to raise $6.5 billion in new bonds and loans, backed by its SkyMiles loyalty program in order to help bolster its balance sheet against a slowdown that is likely to last a lot longer than originally envisaged. Airlines globally had been hoping that a resumption of capacity to levels above 60% of normal would take place by the beginning of Q4. This now looks like wishful thinking, with September capacity likely to be 60% below last year's levels, and unlikely to pick up quickly anytime soon. Despite this, Delta shares have pushed up on the day. Having seen their shares take an absolute beating last NBSP week, Nikola management have pushed back with a rebuttal to the allegations made by two short-seller hedge funds last week. It has outlined a number of examples which it said was false and misleading. The pushback has not stopped the shares from coming under further pressure today, begging the question that, if the allegations are false, then why are they threatening a lawsuit? FX the pound has managed to recover some of last week's lost ground ahead of a vote later tonight on the government's internal market bill. There appears to be some unease amongst certain members of the Conservative Party about the wisdom of certain parts of the IMB, which is prompting some to break ranks and seek changes which don't run up against international law conventions. NBSP the US dollar has slipped back across the board ahead of this week's latest FOMC rate decision as traders pare back some of the rebound seen in the last couple of weeks, with speculation starting to grow that the Fed could well deliver a particularly dovish message in its pursuit of its new policy target of average inflation targeting. Commodities crude oil prices have also come under pressure after OPEC downgraded its outlook for global oil demand to 90.2 m barrels a day for the rest of 2020. Concerns about a continued slowdown in oil consumption appears to have prompted this reassessment, against a backdrop of worries about renewed localized lockdowns in the wake of the onset of colder winter weather. NBSP gold prices have edged higher on the back of a weaker US dollar. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors.